Hey guys, so this one is a pretty crazy video. It's going to be a pretty crazy video with a lot of firsthand knowledge about some of the things that I've gone through. And this is all about becoming a god and becoming the creator being that you are, or realizing the creator being that you are. Um, and being a starseed, and that's what starseeds really are. We're these creator beings that have already gone through processes like this before, and we were sent here to uplift the earth and bring down that godlike energy. And it's very interesting thinking about starseeds and extraterrestrials and how they all blend together with gods and goddesses. And I've had some personal experience interacting with those types of beings, with both like ETs and gods, and like literally seen, like I've seen the face of Zeus before, and I'll talk about it a little bit, but so when I was 19, I basically woke up to my creator abilities, and at the time I didn't know what the hell like happened. It was like a felt like a super early awakening, but I think it was necessary for like the frequency of the planet to like get us onto this timeline early. Like I had a really rough start, really rough start. But yeah, I woke up to my abilities when I was 19, and it was all bliss. I just felt so blissful, like, wow, this is so amazing. Like I'm just generating all of this energy and stuff. It was kind of chaotic too, but I eventually got hospitalized and then diagnosed with bipolar, and I was like in a manic state. And then once they started giving me medication and put me in the hospital for like, I think it was a month that I was in there first, and then it started turning into fear, and then that's when I started manifesting fear. And I think that's where like this really important split is between like people that have psychosis and then people that are just like in their creator ability or whatever. The people that recognize that they're a creator, but they're also holding on to this fear. They start manifesting fear, and that's when it turns into like schizophrenia. And like I've heard voices and stuff too, but like it's all a mixing together. It's weird. I think people that are like paranoid schizophrenia, they just, like I said, they awaken that ability too early, and they don't know. They're in the Western world, they don't really know what's happening. So they start taking all these pills and stuff, and it just messes with their brain chemistry even more. And one of the biggest thing though is not being grounded. Like once I actually figured out, it was actually pretty recently, like how to ground properly, then it was like, oh my god, I feel like a regular human again. Like I can be this amazing god creator being, but also be this wonderful, pleasant, regular human to be around when I'm going into 3D world, 3D land. I'm at the grocery store. No, so, yeah. I just, after I started taking medication for a while, I decided like, I was doing a bunch of research at the same time and still like going through my awakening process. So I knew things were effed up, especially with big pharma. So I decided that meditation was going to be my only medication. And yeah, so I've been meditating. I'm 25 now. I first had that first level of awakening. Like I've had multiple like awakenings, I guess, and now I'm 25, so I've been meditating for like 6 years or so. But yeah, so a bunch of stuff happened in between. You can look back at my previous videos, and I'll probably talk about other stuff that's happened as well in other ones. But yeah, so skip forward a bunch. I'm in India now, and not right now, but I was in India, and I reopened this gateway, this floodgate almost to like the god level energy. And everybody, I think, like everybody can access it, and it's just like a next step, like your body can handle a certain amount of energy. And I think once you start interacting with gods and you start seeing gods and becoming and like manifesting things like that, your body is just taking in a bunch of energy or releasing a bunch of energy as well. Um, and if you're not grounded and you're still holding on to fear, that's also dispersing all of that chaos energy outwards as well. So that's like a really important thing about this step. Like um, one example, I guess, of recognizing that I was in this God level energy. I don't want to get into all of them, but like I saw Zeus, like I said, when I was in India, and then another time when I came back here. But I was like, I recognized that I could literally change the matrix by changing my feeling inside of me. Like, I would walk around the corner, and if I would walk around the corner with fear, it would be like, I don't, it would just be like like a crappy path. Like, like I would be, there'd be a bunch of thorns or something. I was walking barefoot too at the time, and or it would turn into like a really busy road with a bunch of noise. And or if I was like elated and then I took a turn, or I went in a different direction, then it would turn into this like beautiful sanctuary that like I came across upon this like open field with a bunch of black cattle, black bulls, and I just sat in the field for a while with these bulls. And that's another thing. Actually, I stared at the sun. Like, I don't recommend this, but honestly, it turned my visions into like it brought me to that God level so easily by staring at the sun for a long time. Um, I recommend it like 10 minutes after sunrise and before sunset. But other than that, don't do it, because like I still have a dot, honestly. So don't do that. But it showed me that God level, like um, it opened my third eye to that God level again. And this was like after I did stared at the sun, it was the first time that I started seeing, like actually seeing gods, you know. And it was intense. But again, you have to, if you're at that level, um, you have to be centered and you have to know how to find center. But at the same time, you kind of have to go down into the darkness a little bit to know what that is. You know, the polarity, like you're on the God level, but there's dark gods and there's light gods, you know, and they're always like right now the light is winning, obviously. And that was my next point that I wanted to get into. Uh, I had this dream. People talk about the dark night of the soul, and like about a year and a half ago, I had a bad acid trip that triggered my dark night of the soul. And actually, when I think back, I remember thinking to myself, I kind of want to experience. Like I was so elated, like 2 years ago, and I was just like, I kind of want to experience like depression and stuff. And I got what I asked for sure. And it took a long time, and but it gave me so much knowledge because I was able to go into that darkness and then rise out of it again with all of the knowledge of how to come up out of it, you know. And I think that's one of the important things that I'm supposed to do for everybody is like show people how step by step to move yourself out of like depression and like self-loathing, you know. And yeah, so I had this after I had this bad acid trip, I had this dream about chaos. And I went through this portal. I think it was like in Los Angeles. This like homeless person took me down into this portal. I went through this portal, and it was like in a sewer or something. It's so weird. But if you ever played the game Fallout, I was like this cookie cutter, like happy go lucky, like cartoon character in this big fenced in, like perfect white house. And I was mowing the lawn. And then all of a sudden, I realized, or I heard somebody told me 100 days has passed, and it's still like I'm still like the Fallout character, like hi, like inside my fenced in area, just mowing the lawn. Like if this is a perfect world, there's no chaos. And that's when I realized there's no chaos in here, so it's just the most boring effing thing ever. And that's what, like, another good thing about this process that we're going through right now with the virus and stuff. It's just a little bit of, it's just a sprinkle of chaos into the mix to shake things up. And in this dream, I realized that it's gonna sound effed up, but I grabbed a cat and I threw the cat over the fence into the street, and then this car swerved and like created this huge like crash pile up thing, and this tower ends up falling over and like smashing into the fence of my house. So like I could get out of the house, or out of this fenced in area, like I could get out of the prison. And basically what that told me was like, I mean, looking back at it now, what it meant is that I have to become a chaotic being and put out chaos energy, basically. I have to become kind of negative, not negative, but just like a chaos god almost, and put out chaos energy into the world so that things can change. People are just living their lives like nothing's going on while in like Southeast Asia they're just dumping all their trash into the rivers, and like it's happening everywhere. you know Sorry, this is just super intense to talk about because I never thought I would really talk about this, but yeah, so that's my message about chaos. But once you're getting into this god level, you have two paths, and this is very, very important. You have a path of self-service, and you have a path of service to others. And a path of self-service basically leads you into being a demon and being a demonic god. Like I saw, like I told you, I saw both spectrums. I saw when I was in kind of like an anxiety state. I saw a vision of Baphomet sitting on my chest, like literally Baphomet with his two fingers, and like I could see. I don't know if I had turned into that, or like at the time, or if he was just sitting on top of me. I think it could have been either or, honestly. But yeah, it's scary because once you're dealing with, like I said, that level of energy, your emotions really dictate if you're helping or taking away. Like, you, dark or light, you're giving light or you're taking light. And that's based on your emotions. And read the book Power versus Force, and that'll, if you want to look more into emotions and the power of emotions. Like, love is up there. Love is like 400 or 500 on the scale, and then like joy and happiness, I think, or joy is above love, I think. And then you get into bliss states, which are like God consciousness levels. But like once you get to those bliss states, you can always go back. And so yeah, so definitely choose. So yeah. So if when you're in service to self, you feel like you're the only being like in the universe, and you control the universe. And that's like, if you ever have heard of Dolores Cannon, she talks about the wave, the satanic revolution, and that was like, she alludes to the starseeds coming in and becoming fallen angels and becoming Satan beings. And I think that's also like the path of Archangel Michael. And like, Michael is supposedly the one who defeats Satan, but what I think really happens is that he becomes Satan. He falls down and he becomes Satan, and really he only has to defeat himself. But in the midst of all that, he defeats himself, but also he defeats the world around him too. So like, they say Michael can single-handedly destroy Satan, and that's pretty much true because he becomes Satan himself. But then once he rises up, he realizes that the service to the universe and the service to all that is, like, all of the beings out there are God, and serving that instead of serving self, that's the destruction of Satan right there. So Yeah, just keep that in mind. If you're schizophrenic, you probably can relate to some things that I'm talking about. And if you're just a starseed and you're realizing the true magnitude of your power, you you know how to manifest, and you're questioning whether or not are we just in a matrix. And as my this came across my head like a lot, like is it just like the matrix, but you're like the only consciousness in there, and you're like the only one inserted in this video game or whatever. And the conclusion that I came to was no, like yes and no, I just explained all of it kind of, but yeah, you kind of have a choice of whether or not to choose that path or to choose the path of light, and the last thing that I'll end on is to choose that path of light. You have to the frequency, you attune your frequency to that. And when you're in your head and your frequency is just your thoughts, that's when you're in your service to self more. But when you can bring that in conjunction with your heart and live in your heart, living in your heart, like everybody talks about this, but living in your heart is the exact frequency you need to tune into the reality where everybody is an equal, and we all serve one another. So I'll leave you at that, guys. Thanks for watching.